here with the Lake Wales Arts Council doing our virtual summer arts camp, and this is Brandon Alvarado, my lovely assistant.
Hi guys, my name is Brandon Alvarado. I'm the education coordinator here for the Lake Wales Arts Center. Want to welcome you to another fantastic virtual arts class with Miss Blair here. So get your friends, get your family, and let's have a really great time today.
Okay, our first project today is going to be a two-part project, and we are doing Monet's bridge in watercolor. And if you're not familiar with it, he painted this bridge in his garden multiple times, but this is a good example here. And Monet was an impressionist, which means that they focused on painting the light even in the shadows, so you get a lot of color in this and a lot of light. But what we need for this is our standard watercolor things. You need a cup of water, paper towels, soft brushes, and then we have a watercolor set here, and I've already gone through and put little drops of water in each of these so it would soften up the paint, because I know in the past we've had a lot of frustration about the paint not being wet or it's not working. There's nothing wrong with your paint, just get it wet a little bit early. And this also, while we're looking at it, this is your mixing tray. A lot of people don't realize that you can mix your watercolors here. And our other secret ingredient is salt, and we have a pencil and masking tape. So we're going to start with our pencil, and very lightly, I mean lightly, you never listen, lightly, we're going to draw in a bridge. So we're going to do just a little arch up here, and another one a little below that. And then what we're going to do, this is just a guide so we know where to put our masking tape, is take, we didn't give you any paper.
Oh, we're going to get some paper real quick. Sorry guys. Thank you. Now I've got my piece of paper. Make sure you got your piece of paper.
And then we can tangle up the masking tape.
Okay.
Don't be mad. So I'm going to take the masking tape. You don't want to make huge pieces because that's where I'm seeing that I'm having trouble here. And we're going to put it across this bridge so that it curves.
So do I need to section off
So
my...
go ahead. You can probably fold yours in half so it's not so big. It'll be hard for you. So I'm just taking little pieces of tape so I can make this a curved shape. And making my bridge. So Impressionism was partly brought on by new manufacturing techniques in paint. Before you had to sit there and grind all your own paint and mix it up, and then you had your batches in jars or whatever you stored it in. But when they started manufacturing paint in tubes, it meant that you could go out and paint anywhere. And so a lot of these artists were going outdoors and painting and studying the colors in natural light. It's interesting too, because a lot of the Impressionists were classically trained. So they went to atelier schools where you would go through and draw from cast and from live models that would sit for you. So they could also do what we think of as more traditional painting.
And would you say that they were pioneers of their art form?
It was definitely a major shift to paint that way. It wasn't so focused on well, it's the impression instead of being hyper realistic, or it was more catching because light moves so fast when you're outdoors. You don't realize it until you try to paint a sunset or something on site and that thing's gone in 3 minutes. And so you really just don't have time to make it perfect. So I've almost got my bridge curved in here. Just using little bits at a time so that it gets a nice curve. And this masking tape we will take off later. This is why it's important to use masking tape, not like Scotch tape. You don't want clear tape, you want like the blue painter's tape or this kind of manila colored tape. So we've got the curve of the bridge in, and now we'll use this little piece, the little straight parts that go down. And I could do this without drawing them, so I'm just gonna guess. So we wanna put little railings in on our bridge.
Oh, got a little tangled again.
This will keep you busy for a while, just getting it taped.
Exactly, but it's a good time though.
Everyone likes peeling the tape off though, it's very satisfying at the end of this project. So this is, we're masking it off to protect the lighter parts here. So after we're done painting, we can take this tape off and it'll leave white parts. So we can go back and paint whatever color, or we'll leave it white if you like it like that. So I have my bridge about how I like it. Doesn't have to be perfect, don't stress out. And how are we doing, Mr.?
I am just finishing up the bottom of the bridge and then I'll do the railing. So if you want to go ahead, I will catch up.
So our next step is to take our watercolors, and I'm gonna use a pretty big brush. And thinking about the Impressionist colors, we're not gonna use any black in this. The Impressionists didn't really typically use black. But there are a lot of violets and pinks and peaches and stuff like that. So I'm going to go through and do some background for this. So I'm getting plenty of water in my mixing area of the palette. I think I'm gonna start with a blue. And this will work better on a flat surface, but I'm doing it up here so you guys can see. This is probably gonna run. So I'm gonna dab it on very wet, and some of it can go across the bridge. And slowly add some more other colors. I might add a little green and make it more turquoise. If you wanted to, you could make it look like there are willow trees on one side or water leaves or whatever, but I'm gonna go ahead and just get a general idea on here first. Just putting color all over. Get some good violet in here. And I'm just mixing into the same puddle of paint, and that's keeping all my colors related too. Keep them more interesting, but we're trying to keep this very wet. If you wanted to, you could wet your paper before you put some of these colors on. Just keep it wet if it takes you a while. Hopefully mine's not gonna dry too quickly. Are you scared over there?
I'm a little scared. It's my first time doing this. You want to keep the brush wet, correct?
We're keeping the whole thing pretty wet. And I'm working pretty quickly on this so it
Okay.
doesn't dry. This is not the time to be super careful.
Okay. So I'm just gonna do what you're doing. Guys, don't be afraid to pause the video or rewind if we're going a little bit too fast for you.
And here's the fun part, which this will be easier for you. Don't do this at your house like this. But we're gonna put salt on here, and I don't know if it's gonna stick because mine's standing up. You need to keep that wetter.
Oh, keep it wet. Okay.
So we're making a mess. This just catches the watercolor and makes some interesting patterns. And it'll be more fun for you guys because you can actually see it better. So I'm not doing it all over, just in some patches. And then we're gonna leave this to dry, and I'm gonna help Mr. Alvarado here.
I'm struggling a little bit, but that's
We're gonna
okay.
get all of your paper wet.
Okay.
Because it seems like he's very organized. We've got almost a rainbow going here. But we're trying to keep it all wet, so I'm gonna go ahead and help wet the paper.
Thank you.
And then you can get colors on faster.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Miss Blair. Appreciate your help.
And this is why you wanna use a big brush too, and not a tiny brush. And if you want to, you can always go back on here and add some more details. Like if I want to put water lilies down in here, I can put some across the bottom here. Some green algae, I don't know. We have lots of options. As they go back, I might make them a little bit lighter. Some flowers on some of them. Mine are gonna all drip, so that'll be great. Remember, as you come forward, your flowers will get bigger if you want to make this a little more realistic. So maybe I got some water lilies down there. I could put some flowers or something up to this area. It's really loosely. We're doing this to spend extra time, Mr. Alvarado.
I'm taking a little bit more time, but guys, it's okay if you're not doing it as fast or as slow. I mean, you can take as much time or whatever you need to do. You can
kind
again
of a tree over here, maybe.
do it again.
I'll make a little weeping willow on the side. I'm going right over this tape, so it looks like this will be behind the tape.
Yeah.
And if you look at a lot of their paintings, the tree trunks are typically like a violet or blue. They're really catching the color of the light and the shadows. So I'm making mine a little bit blue and purple. And then I'm gonna add some more branches to my willow.
Okay. I think I've got
Do you
most.
want to show yours covered?
I'll show mine. This is mine. Mine's gonna. I have an unfortunate little drip going through there, but that's okay. That's okay.
There's no mistakes. There's only happy accidents. You
Exactly.
have to turn the drip into something. That could be like the reflection of a tree trunk down here.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So now I'm gonna go through in detail like you are.
Yeah, because we can add some details in here. This doesn't have to be. You could stop where Mr. Alvarado is right now and just leave it really simple and abstract, or you can make this as complicated as you want and, you know, put trees in.
I'm gonna try and be a little fancy today.
My mom gave me this art book when I was probably 15 or something,
Yeah.
and it's so nice to have a book at home that you can look at instead of just looking at the internet. But if anybody wants to look for good art books, it's good to check at the library, at the sales section.
Yeah.
And instead of them being like $100-something, they're like $10.
Oh, that's awesome.
I
Yeah.
always like checking there. The only problem is they don't fit as your bookcase.
So you have a special art
Yeah,
bookcase.
you
for
have
that.
special section to fit them in. Now everyone's gonna go buy all the art books before me. I'm just putting some little more stuff back here is all I'm doing. Just to make it a little more interesting. So I'm gonna stop there. Cause I feel like I've done enough stuff. And so this is just part one of this, and we'll stop here and let this dry completely. And the salt will eventually get to where it's completely like dried out, and we'll be able to shake it all off, and then we'll show you part two in a minute.
Bye guys. Thank you so much.